Have you ever looked at your life and quietly asked yourself, is it too late for me now? Too late to dream again? Too late to feel useful again? Too late to start over? Maybe the world has made you feel invisible. Maybe people stopped asking about your dreams a long time ago. Maybe your mirror shows wrinkles, gray hair, and tired eyes. But deep inside, there is still a voice whispering, I still want to live. And today, I want you to listen carefully to this story, because it may change the way you see your life forever. There was a man named Daniel. He was 72 years old, living alone in a small town in Ohio. Every morning, he woke up at exactly 6:30, not because he had somewhere important to go, but because his body had followed the same routine for 40 years. He would slowly walk into the kitchen, make black coffee, and sit near the window in silence. The house was quiet, too quiet. His wife, Martha, had passed away 5 years earlier. His son lived in another state and rarely called. The neighbors waved politely, but nobody really knew him anymore. Daniel used to be a mechanic. For decades, people respected him. He fixed engines, solved problems, and worked with pride. But after retirement, something inside him changed. The days became slower. The phone stopped ringing, and little by little, he began to feel like his purpose had disappeared. One rainy afternoon, Daniel opened an old wooden drawer in his garage. Inside was a dusty notebook filled with sketches, small drawings of furniture, chairs, tables, cabinets. He stared at the pages for a long moment. When he was young, Daniel dreamed of becoming a carpenter. He loved building things with his hands. But life moved quickly. Bills came, responsibilities grew, marriage, work, children, and like many people, he buried his dream quietly and told himself, maybe someday. But someday never came. He closed the notebook and smiled sadly. Too old now, he whispered. That sentence became his prison. Too old to learn. Too old to change. Too old to begin again. And maybe you've said those same words to yourself. But here's the truth. Age does not destroy dreams. Fear does. Days passed. Then weeks. But Daniel could not stop thinking about that notebook. One evening, while watching television, he saw an interview with an 80-year-old man who had just opened his first bakery. The reporter asked him, "Why start now?" And the old man laughed and said, "Because I'm still alive." Daniel sat frozen in his chair. Because I'm still alive. Those words hit him deeply. That night, he couldn't sleep. He kept staring at the ceiling, thinking about all the years he spent surviving, but not truly living. The next morning, something unusual happened. Daniel walked into a hardware store and bought a small set of woodworking tools. His hands trembled while paying for them. Part of him felt excited. Another part felt foolish. "What are you going to do with these?" the cashier asked with a smile. Daniel hesitated. Then he quietly answered, "I think I'm going to start again." For the first time in years, he felt something warm inside his chest. Hope. The beginning was not easy. His back hurt after only 30 minutes of work. His hands were slower than before. Sometimes he measured wrong. Sometimes he dropped tools. Sometimes frustration made him want to quit. And the hardest part was not physical pain. It was the voice inside his head. "You're embarrassing yourself. You should have done this years ago. Nobody cares." That voice became louder every time he failed. One afternoon, after ruining a piece of wood he had worked on for hours, Daniel became angry. He threw the hammer onto the floor and sat down heavily. Maybe he was too old. Maybe this was all pointless. At that moment, he noticed a photo hanging on the garage wall. It was Martha, smiling beside him years ago. And suddenly, he remembered something she used to say whenever life became difficult. "Daniel, people grow old when they stop trying." Tears filled his eyes. He picked up the hammer again. Day after day, he continued. Slowly, the garage changed. Pieces of wood became small shelves. Small shelves became tables. Tables became beautiful handmade furniture. For the first time in years, Daniel stopped counting his age and started counting his progress. And something else began to change too. His posture became stronger. His eyes became brighter. He laughed more often. Purpose had returned to his life. One Saturday morning, a young woman walking past his garage noticed one of his handmade chairs. "That's beautiful," she said. "Did you make this?" Daniel nodded nervously. She asked if she could buy it. Daniel almost said no, because he couldn't believe someone would actually want his work. But she insisted. That single chair changed everything. A few weeks later, more people started visiting. Then someone posted pictures online. Then local orders began coming in. At 72 years old, Daniel started a small woodworking business from his garage. But the most powerful part of the story was not the money. It was who he became. For years, Daniel believed his best days were behind him. But now he woke up excited every morning. He had conversations again, goals again, energy again. One evening, his son finally visited. As they stood in the garage, surrounded by handmade furniture, his son looked around in amazement. "Dad, I haven't seen you this happy in years." Daniel smiled quietly. Neither had he. And maybe that is what so many people miss about life. Starting again is not really about success. It's about feeling alive again. Too many people think life ends after retirement. Too many people believe dreams have an expiration date. But some of the strongest trees grow slowly. Some of the most beautiful stories begin late. Colonel Sanders started Kentucky Fried Chicken in his 60s. Grandma Moses began painting seriously in her 70s. Thousands of ordinary people discover new purpose later in life. Because your value does not disappear with age. In fact, age gives you something powerful. Wisdom, patience, experience, strength built through survival. Young people may have speed, but older people have perspective, and perspective can change the world. Daniel's story continued spreading through his town. Local schools invited him to speak. Younger people came to learn woodworking from him. He became more than a carpenter. He became proof that it is never too late. One day, a retired man visited his garage. The man looked tired and defeated. He quietly said, "I used to love playing piano, but I haven't touched one in 30 years. Daniel looked at him and smiled. Then maybe it's time to touch it again. Those simple words carried deep truth. Because many people are not truly tired of life. They are tired of living without purpose. And purpose does not care about your age. Purpose only asks one question. Are you willing to begin? Years later, when Daniel turned 80, someone asked him what his biggest regret was. He thought for a moment. Then he answered softly, "I regret believing for so long that my life was already over." That sentence stayed in everyone's mind. How many people give up while they are still alive? How many dreams die quietly because fear says it's too late? Listen carefully. If your heart is still beating, your story is not finished. You are not too old to learn something new. You are not too old to love again. You are not too old to build something meaningful. You are not too old to become stronger, wiser, happier, or braver. The world may celebrate youth, but there is incredible power in a person who refuses to quit after decades of struggle. A young person with confidence is common, but an older person who still believes in possibility, that is powerful. That is inspiring. That changes lives. So maybe today is your moment. Maybe today is the day you stop saying, "I'm too old," and start saying, "I'm still here." Maybe your dream has been waiting patiently for you all these years. Maybe the next chapter of your life could become the most meaningful chapter of all. Do not let fear make your decisions anymore. Do not bury your gifts simply because time is past. The clock is moving for everyone, but while you are alive, there is still time to create memories, purpose, joy, and impact. And remember this, a candle can still shine brightly, even late at night. So, if nobody else has told you lately, hear this clearly today. Your life still matters. Your dreams still matter. And you still have something valuable to give this world. Never forget, you are not too old to start again. If this story touched your heart, make sure you like this video. Share it with someone who needs encouragement today, and subscribe to the channel for more motivational stories that inspire hope, strength, and purpose. And before you leave, write this in the comments. My story is not over, because it isn't. A few months after Daniel's story began spreading across town, something unexpected happened. Every Thursday evening, people started gathering inside his garage. At first, it was only 2 or 3 people. then 10, then 20. Some were retired teachers. Some were widows living alone. Some were former factory workers who had lost direction after retirement. A few were younger people searching for hope in difficult times. Nobody came for perfect furniture. They came for something much deeper. They came because Daniel made them believe that life could still begin again. The garage no longer felt lonely. The sound of silence had been replaced by conversation, laughter, and the smell of fresh wood. One evening, a woman named Eleanor walked slowly into the workshop. She was 76 years old and carried sadness in her eyes. She stood quietly in the corner while everyone worked. Daniel noticed her but didn't pressure her to speak. After a while, he walked over gently and asked, "Have you ever worked with wood before?" She shook her head. "No," she whispered. "I don't think I'm good at anything anymore." Those words hit the room heavily, because deep down, many people feel that way. After years of loss, disappointment, aging, and loneliness, they begin believing they no longer matter. Daniel looked at her carefully. Then he smiled and handed her a small piece of sandpaper. "Start here," he said softly. "You don't have to be great. You just have to begin." Eleanor sat down quietly and started sanding a small wooden board. Her hands moved slowly, but something beautiful happened during the next hour. For the first time in years, she stopped thinking about her pain. She became focused, present, calm. And before leaving that night, she looked at Daniel with tears in her eyes and said, "Thank you. I forgot what it feels like to enjoy something." Daniel nodded silently because he understood exactly what she meant. Life had taught him something powerful. Most people are not searching for perfection. They are searching for meaning. Days turned into seasons. The little garage workshop became one of the warmest places in town. People shared stories there. Some talked about losing loved ones. Others spoke about regrets they carried for decades. But slowly, something changed inside all of them. They stopped talking only about what they had lost and started talking about what they could still become. That is the power of hope. Hope can wake up a sleeping soul. One winter evening, heavy snow covered the streets outside. Daniel stayed late cleaning the workshop after everyone left. As he swept the floor, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his chest. The broom slipped from his hands. He sat down slowly, breathing hard. For a moment, fear entered his mind. At 80 years old, he understood life was fragile. He looked around the garage, the old walls, the workbenches, the unfinished projects, the photos hanging beside the door, and strangely, he smiled. Because years earlier, this garage had been a place of loneliness. Now, it was a place full of life. A few minutes later, the pain eased. Daniel sat quietly in his chair, thinking deeply. And that night, he realized something important. Success is not about becoming famous. It is not about money, awards, or attention. Real success is waking up each day, knowing your life helped someone breathe easier. Knowing your existence gave another person courage. Knowing your story made someone else refuse to quit. That realization brought peace into his heart. A few weeks later, the local community center invited Daniel to give a speech. At first, he refused. "I'm not a speaker," he said, but they insisted. So on a cold Friday evening, Daniel stood nervously in front of a room filled with people. Young faces, old faces, hopeful faces, broken faces. He looked down at his trembling hands and took a deep breath. Then he began speaking. "When I retired," he said slowly, "I thought my useful life had ended." The room became silent. I believed growing older meant becoming less important. I thought my dreams belonged in the past. He paused, but I was wrong. People listened carefully. Daniel continued, "The greatest mistake people make is believing their best moments are behind them. But life doesn't end when your hair turns gray. Life ends when you stop believing tomorrow can still be meaningful." Some people in the audience began crying quietly, because those words touched something real inside them. Daniel looked around the room and spoke from his heart. "You may walk slower now. You may feel pain in your body. You may have lost people you love deeply. But hear me clearly. Your life still has value." His voice became emotional. "There are still people who need your wisdom, your kindness, your story, your strength. The audience sat completely still. "And if there's still breath in your lungs," Daniel said, "then there is still purpose waiting for you." The room exploded into applause. But Daniel did not feel proud because of the applause. He felt grateful. Grateful that he did not give up on himself years earlier. After the event, dozens of people came to shake his hand. One man said, "You made me want to try again." A woman whispered, "Tonight saved me." And Daniel realized something extraordinary. Sometimes the comeback you fight for is not only for yourself. Sometimes your courage becomes permission for others to rise too. That night, Daniel returned home exhausted, but peaceful. He sat beside the window with a cup of coffee, just like he had done for years. But this time, everything felt different. The same chair, the same window, the same quiet night, yet his heart had changed completely. Years ago, he sat there waiting for life to end. Now, he sat there thankful life had given him another beginning. And maybe that is where your story changes too. Not when the world changes around you, but when you decide to see yourself differently. Too many people spend years believing they are finished. Too many people bury their dreams because society tells them aging means decline. But aging also means growth. It means wisdom earned through pain, strength earned through survival, grace earned through experience. You have survived days that once felt impossible. You have carried burdens silently. You have kept going when nobody saw your struggle. That alone makes your life powerful. So never underestimate the impact you can still make. A smile from you may heal someone. Your story may inspire someone. Your decision to keep going may save someone from giving up. Do not measure your worth by your age. Measure it by the light you still carry inside. Because some lights become stronger in darkness, and some people become stronger with time. Near the end of his life, Daniel wrote a simple sentence inside his old notebook, the same notebook he once almost threw away forever. It said, "The moment I stopped fearing my age, I started living again." Those words became his legacy. Not furniture, not money, not success, but hope. Hope that people can begin again. Hope that purpose can return. Hope that no human being is ever truly finished while they still have the courage to try. So, if you are listening right now and feeling lost, if loneliness has been sitting quietly beside you, if regret has been whispering that you waited too long, please remember Daniel. Remember the 72-year-old man who believed life was over? And remember the truth he discovered. It is never too late to rebuild your life. Never too late to learn. Never too late to dream. Never too late to smile again. And never too late to become the person you were always meant to be. Your age is not the end of your story. It is proof that you survived long enough to gain wisdom others still need to hear. So stand up again. Believe again. Live again. Because the most beautiful chapters of life are sometimes written at the very end. If this story inspired you, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who may need hope today, and subscribe for more powerful motivational stories. And before you go, write these words in the comments. It's never too late. Because, for you, it truly isn't.